Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my ranking for every new release film I saw in February 2020. So here we are, the second month of the new decade, and of course, like we do every single month, it's time to rank all of the new releases I saw. So, of course, the parameters, I had to have actually watched the film to rank it. And there were a couple of Netflix films I wanted to get to. I just never quite found the time or motivation, honestly, to see them. So it's not a complete list. But in total, I did see 12 films to rank here today. In addition, this is just my opinion. These are my personal feelings and a personal connection with each of the films. This has nothing to do with other critical scores or box office, any of the like. This is just how I liked them. It's just my opinion. I look forward to hearing your opinions in the comment section down below. So without further ado, let's jump on in. Coming in at number 12, aka dead last, I have Fantasy Island. I was hopeful for Fantasy Island going in, and oh my, was that hope misplaced because this was terrible. First of all, it wasn't scary, like at all. The acting was poor across the board, and the script and screenplay not only wasn't scary, it just didn't make any sense. The dialogue was vomit inducing, and the twist was completely horrible. Almost nothing about Fantasy Island worked. Plus, you add in a pretty problematic message about gay people being a burden on their families, and it just had to be last place. Coming in at number 11, I have Brahms the Boy 2. Yes, it has been a rough 2020 for horror. Thankfully, though, we have some good ones still to come on this list. But wow, Brahms the Boy 2 was just bad. And this is coming from someone who actually thought The Boy was a perfectly fine little horror movie. This movie, though, from the same writer and director, decided to just throw everything he set up in that first movie into the trash. The first movie was made null and void, honestly, with the twist that they decided to go with in this movie. And it was just such a generic, boring twist. The doll is creepy, and that's what puts it above Fantasy Island, is that there is some sort of atmosphere to be had here, but the acting and, again, that script were just so horrible. They should have just left this boy alone after the first film. At number 10, I have Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, the Netflix Pokemon remake. Why? That is the simple question for this film. Why? It is nearly a shot for shot remake of Pokemon, the first movie, which came out in 1998. I have such fond memories of, but even upon rewatching it in modern day, right before watching this new one, it's like a masterpiece in comparison. Because this new version is pretty much that shot for shot remake, as I said, except with all of the soul just sucked out of it. So many of these vocal performances are uninspired. The animation is a soulless, dated look of CG animation. It doesn't cut it for the year 2020. And the added extra dialogue and scenes actually just dumb down the point of it all and quite literally have to spoon feed the audience. And so if you're just gonna dampen the original, why remake it in the first place? Coming in at number 9, I have Downhill. I actually was really looking forward to this film. I thought that the trailer was really intriguing. This was an honorable mention for me personally for my most anticipated movies of 2020. And ultimately, it just is kind of there for me. A lot of people really didn't like this movie. I found it to just be whatever. Julia Louis-Dreyfus really held this film up for me. I thought her performance was strong. Will Ferrell, I actually think was miscast in this role. I don't know, the vibe just didn't quite work. Most of our characters feel inauthentic to real people. But the core problem of our story is interesting and is something I liked exploring. Unfortunately, though, the film doesn't do enough to explore it. It's not as smart as it thinks it is, and it's not saying anything really when you can tell the filmmakers thought they were making a smarter dark comedy. Another problem, not very funny. I mean, it's a chuckle maybe a couple times through the film kind of movie, and that doesn't really cut it. At number 8, I have Burden. Another one. Another white nationalist redemption story. Told through the perspective of the white nationalist, where they're the main character of the story. Written and directed by a white man. I'm tired. As I said in my review, I am just tired of this already. I'm ready to move past it. This one is even more egregious than a lot of the others we've received in the past because it's about love and a girl changing the guy, a white woman, like changing him without really earning his heart changing at any point. Some really stupid decisions from her as a character, from other characters. It's serviceable enough. It's not a bad movie per se. It's just a movie I want to move past in our landscape already. At number 7, I have The Call of the Wild. The Call of the Wild is a perfectly fine family adventure film. Harrison Ford actually is giving a good, heartfelt performance, and I really felt the connection between he and Buck in this movie, who's a completely CG animated dog. So huge kudos to Harrison Ford on that. Plus, Omar Sy in this movie I thought was absolutely delightful. Buck as a dog is also very cute. He's very endearing and also a bit creepy. And that's a problem. The dogs in this movie just never looked quite right. Buck, particularly. And I think it's because the movement never felt quite right. The over expressiveness never felt quite right. And then the dog's behaviors were just so humanized that it sucks me out of it. Slightly humanize the animal characters, and I think it works really well. But when you make them having WWE SmackDown matches in the middle of the movie, it's like, oh, come on. But the background scenery, which was like all CGI, was stellar. Now, that was absolutely stunning. Most of the other animals, except for the rabbit, which they looked good. Like the bear looked great, but the story is just so weird. The message or non-message of this family movie is also so weird. Like, what's the point of it, really? I just wish we had spent a whole lot more time with Harrison Ford and Buck because that was by far the most enjoyable part of this film, and it's doesn't take up that much screen time. Oh yeah, and then we have Dan Stevens and Karen Gillan who are absolutely terrible in this movie. Terrible. At number 6, I have The Photograph. The Photograph, I think, was a pretty well made film that had two parallel romances going at once. My problem was that those two didn't feel connected enough. Like, I almost wish we had just seen one or the other because I was intrigued with both stories. Instead, I felt they were put together kind of weird, if I'm being honest. Fortunately, Issa Rae and Lakeith Stanfield are both so wonderful in this movie, and I do think they have a wonderful chemistry together. Really, all of our cast knocks it out of the park in this movie. I thought the writing was also very strong. It's a beautiful movie to look at, really well shot. And I think it gets the job done for its target audience, the romantics of the world. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, and I was like, y'all are really going through all this, knowing each other for what, 2 days? This is too much. I don't believe in this first love and you're falling in over healed. Whatever, but that's just me, and this is just my list. So that's what kept The Photograph from breaking the top 5, but it's a solid film. At number 5, I have Sonic the Hedgehog. I just found this to be a really cute, fun, innocuous type of movie. Sonic as a character is what lifted and propped this entire movie up for me. He brought all of the heart, and it was the heart that drew me in and kept me invested in the movie. Jim Carrey, I also loved. I really enjoyed this Jim Carrey, where we go back to really fun, zany, using that face of his, using the physical humor he has. And it did feel reminiscent of the heyday of Carrey's comedic career. However, the story is super generic and a bit boring for a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. The comedy lands about half of the time, I'd say, and the CGI only works about half of the time. But I had fun watching it. I thought it was cute. I think it's a blast for the whole family. So, number 5. Again, at number 4, I have a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon. The second of my Netflix animated releases for February. This was just a delight. I love Shaun the Sheep movie, the one from 2015 from Arduin Studios. I think it is such a good movie, well crafted, full of heart, and Farmageddon keeps most of those same elements intact here. It is super adorable. Our new little alien is just such a cute protagonist, and I loved how much heart they were able to add into this alien story. I fell in love with this little alien, became very invested in his plight here on Earth. Of course, all of the zany, fun, over the top humor is here in spades. All of the quirky pun humor is here, and it made me chuckle every time. The animation is still gorgeous, particularly the fur on the sheep, I think just looks amazing. And seeing it move was really cool. And while I don't think it's as good as the first film, it is definitely a sequel that earns its own merit. So coming in at number 3, I have The Lodge. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful slow burn horror we have in The Lodge. This is one of those films, as soon as the big events happen near the beginning of the movie, you are on edge. You know we can go anywhere to any level right off the bat. It just keeps you on that simmering stove the entire film, like kind of always ready, always looking in the periphery as dread continues to encroach upon you. Riley Keough was amazing in our lead role. She is so good and really sells this entire film. But our entire cast, the kids are great. Richard Armitage is really good. Alicia Silverstone has very limited screen time, but she also delivers. And the themes about religion and mental health and bullying, honestly, preconceived notions, all of them are so strong and so beautifully executed. This is the kind of movie that leaves you just thinking about it all the way home. When you wake up in the morning, for the next weeks after, months after, you just kind of go back to, wow, The Lodge. And I can't say much more about that because it's best to just go in fresh. But this is definitely a horror to seek out. So coming in at number 2, I have The Invisible Man. Lee Winnell does it again, really knocked it out of the park this time with the reimagining of the Universal Monster Classic. This time we have a modern spin revolving around domestic abuse, which makes it all that much more terrifying if we're being honest. Elizabeth Moss gives a wonderful performance in our lead role. Aldous Hodge is also really good. Storm Reed delivers a strong performance. Our cast all kill it. But you gotta give it up to Lee Winnell because the camera work in this movie is amazing. Like top tier, just stellar camera work with beautiful cinematography, amazing sound design, and this beautiful score. Now, of course, characters do some dumb things, and you gotta suspend some disbelief as you go through the events of the film. But this one grabs you right from that opening scene, and you constantly are looking around your own theater wondering where he is. It was a fun, well executed, dread filled horror film, and certainly the top of the crop when it comes to horror 2020. So coming in at number 1, my top spot favorite film of February 2020 is Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I loved Birds of Prey. I think it was so good. First off, Margot Robbie has absolutely become Harley Quinn. She has made another iconic superhero character for the screen that completely stands on its own. But Huntress, oh, so good. Black Canary stole my heart. I loved her so much. And Ewan McGregor, oh, amazing. Definitely my favorite DCEU villain to date. He absolutely killed it. But this movie is so beautifully directed. It looks absolutely stunning. The fight choreography was amazing, and the way that the fight scenes were shot, top notch, above anything else I've seen so far this year, and some of the best fight scenes I think we've gotten in several years when it comes to not only comic book films, but action movies as well. They were so well done. The comedy really worked for me. I was laughing, I was relating to these characters. I just had a blast. Yeah, there are problems. Yeah, there are some things that don't quite add up. But if I'm just being honest, I didn't really care. I went back, I saw it again, I loved it, maybe even more the second time. And Birds of Prey not only is my favorite film of February so far, it's still my favorite movie of 2020. I love it. So that's it. That is my ranking for February 2020. What'd you think of how I ranked these films? And more importantly, I want to hear your ranking for all the movies you saw in February. Leave your list and comments in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!